The fluorescent lights in the Jensen Technologies boardroom hummed overhead as I adjusted my notepad, positioning myself in the corner chair, the one nobody ever wanted because it faced away from the windows. Perfect for someone who was supposed to be invisible. Emily, coffee. My stepmother Patricia snapped her fingers without looking at me. And make sure it's actually hot this time. Unlike yesterday's disaster. I stood quietly, smoothing down my plain gray cardigan. At 28, I'd perfected the art of being the family disappointment, the one who dropped out of Stanford, the one who never amounted to anything, the one who somehow still got pity invitations to family gatherings because Dad felt guilty about something from years ago. Right away, I said softly, gathering the empty cups scattered across the mahogany table. My half-brother Derek lounged in Dad's right-hand seat, his Rolex catching the light as he scrolled through his phone. Can you believe we're actually doing this? Selling to Meridian Corp for $340 million. I've already got my eye on a yacht. Derek, focus. Dad, Richard Jensen commanded from the head of the table. At 62, he still had the commanding presence that had built Jensen Technologies from a small electronics distributor into a regional powerhouse. We need to finalize the shareholder vote before Meridian's team arrives at 2. My half-sister Vanessa adjusted her designer blazer, the one that probably cost more than my entire year's rent. The vote's a formality, Dad. You've got 35%, Mom has 8%, I have 4%, Derek has 5%. That's 52% right there. Uncle Tom and Aunt Linda will vote with us. That's another 12%. We're at 64%. Done. I returned with Patricia's coffee, setting it down gently. She didn't acknowledge me. What about the remaining shares? Uncle Tom asked, reviewing documents on his tablet. There's 18% unaccounted for in the shareholder registry. Dad waved dismissively. Small investors. Inherited shares from early employees. Minor stakeholders who never attend meetings. I've sent proxy notices to all addresses on file. If they don't respond by today, their shares abstain and we proceed with majority rule. And Emily? Aunt Linda asked, glancing at me with something that might have been pity. Doesn't she have shares? I remember your father left her something. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Patricia's laugh was sharp. Oh yes, Emily's shares. All 1% of them. A lovely parting gift from Richard's father, who apparently thought charity cases deserved participation trophies. It was 2%, I said quietly, returning to my corner seat. Was it? Vanessa smirked. Forgive us for not keeping track of your vast empire, Em. Derek didn't even look up from his phone. 2% of $340 million is what, $6.8 million? It's cute. That'll keep you in cardigans for a while. If the sale goes through, I added softly. When the sale goes through, Dad corrected, his tone final. Emily, I know you have some sentimental attachment to your grandfather's company, but this is business. Meridian's offer is exceptional. We'd be fools to refuse it. I nodded, making a note on my pad. I'd always taken notes at these meetings, a habit from when Grandpa Jack used to let me sit in his office as a child, teaching me to observe, to listen, to understand that the most important information often came from what people didn't say. The sentimental one, Patricia muttered to Aunt Linda, loud enough for me to hear. She probably thinks she's being loyal to Jack's memory. Sweet, really, if it wasn't so pathetic. Vanessa stood stretching. Speaking of Grandpa Jack, remember how he used to insist Emily was special? That she understood business better than any of us? She laughed. And look at her now. Taking notes at meetings she barely understands, living in that depressing apartment in Riverside, working part-time at that bookstore. It's a library, I corrected gently. I'm an archivist. Oh, excuse me, Vanessa said with exaggerated politeness. An archivist. How impressive. While you're organizing dusty books, I'm running the marketing division here. Derek's heading business development. What exactly have you contributed to Jensen Technologies beyond awkward silences and sad cardigans? I didn't respond. There was no point. Dad checked his watch, a Patek Philippe that Grandpa Jack had given him 30 years ago. All right, let's make this official. We need to vote before Meridian arrives. All in favor of accepting Meridian Corporation's offer of $340 million for complete acquisition of Jensen Technologies, signify by saying aye. Aye, Patricia said immediately. Aye, Derek echoed. Aye, Vanessa added. Aye, Uncle Tom and Aunt Linda said in unison. Dad nodded with satisfaction. Motion carries with 64% approval. Emily, for the record, how do you vote your 2%? Everyone turned to look at me. I could feel their amusement, their certainty that my tiny voice didn't matter. Against, I said softly. Derek actually laughed out loud. Against? Come on. You're voting against $6.8 million. I'm voting against the sale, I clarified, keeping my voice steady. Your objection is noted and overruled, Dad said, making a notation on his own papers. The vote passes 64% to 2%. The remaining 34% abstains or is non-responsive. Motion carries. Patricia stood, already reaching for her phone. I'm texting my realtor. There's a penthouse in Manhattan I've been watching. Don't spend it all yet, Mom, Vanessa grinned. We still have to wait for the money to clear. Formality, Dad assured her. Meridian's lawyers have already reviewed everything. Once they arrive and we sign the purchase agreement, it's just a matter of the wire transfer. 48 hours maximum. The next hour passed in a blur of celebration. Champagne appeared, the expensive kind, naturally. Derek started making calls about the yacht. Vanessa pulled up real estate listings for a vacation home in Aspen. Uncle Tom and Aunt Linda discussed retiring early. I sat in my corner taking notes, watching them divide an empire that didn't belong to them. At precisely 2 o'clock, Dad's assistant Marcus opened the boardroom door. Mr. Jensen, the Meridian team has arrived. 3 people entered. James Wellington, Meridian CEO, flanked by 2 lawyers carrying briefcases that probably cost more than my car. Richard. Wellington extended his hand warmly. Wonderful to finally close this deal. Meridian is thrilled to be acquiring Jensen Technologies. The handshakes went around. Introductions were made. I remained in my corner, apparently beneath notice. Shall we proceed with signatures? One of Meridian's lawyers asked, opening his briefcase and extracting a thick folder. We have the purchase agreement ready for execution. Absolutely, Dad said, reaching for his Mont Blanc pen, another gift from Grandpa Jack. Wellington's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, frowned slightly, then smiled apologetically. Excuse me one moment. My CFO needs to confirm something. He stepped aside, phone to his ear. The conversation was brief, but I noticed his expression shift from confident to confused. Richard, Wellington said slowly, returning to the table. My CFO is saying there's an issue with the shareholder vote. According to the registry filed with the state, Jensen Technologies has a controlling stakeholder with 82% ownership. The room went silent. That's impossible, Dad said flatly. I own 35%. I know exactly how the shares are distributed. Our due diligence shows otherwise, Wellington said, his tone shifting to something more cautious. The majority shareholder is listed as JE Holdings LC. Formed 12 years ago. The shares were transferred legally. All documentation is in order. Patricia laughed nervously. That's absurd. Richard's father died 12 years ago, but he left the shares distributed among family. There is no single majority holder. Mom's right, Vanessa said firmly. This is obviously an administrative error. Wellington's lawyer was already on his laptop, pulling up documents. Sir, I'm looking at the state filing now. JE Holdings LLC holds 82% of Jensen Technologies shares. The transfer was registered on March 15, 12 years ago, 2 weeks before Jack Jensen's death. Dad's face had gone pale. Jack never mentioned anything about forming a holding company. Who controls this LLC? Derek demanded. What's the registered agent? The lawyer scrolled through documents. The registered agent is listed as Morrison Chin and Associates, corporate law firm downtown. Uncle Tom leaned forward. I know that firm. They handled Dad's estate planning. But 82%? That's impossible. Even if he'd consolidated his own shares and some he'd bought back over the years, that's only, maybe 45% at most. Unless he'd been acquiring shares quietly for years, Aunt Linda said slowly. Buying out old employees, small investors. But why? Patricia's voice had risen an octave. Why would he do that and not tell anyone? I continued taking notes, my handwriting neat and steady. Dad turned to Marcus. Call Morrison Chin immediately. I need to know who controls JE Holdings. Marcus hurried out, phone already in hand. Wellington closed his briefcase. Richard, I'm afraid until this is resolved, Meridian cannot proceed with the acquisition. We need clear title and proper authorization from the controlling shareholder. This is a delay tactic, Derek said hotly. Some competitor trying to sabotage the deal. Or a clerical error, Vanessa added, though her confidence had dimmed. An old filing that was never properly updated. State corporate records don't generally have those kinds of errors, Wellington's lawyer said diplomatically. Especially not for 12 consecutive years. Marcus returned, his face troubled. Sir, I spoke with Margaret Chin herself. She confirms JE Holdings is a valid entity and does control 82% of Jensen Technologies. She says she's been managing the holding company as per the trust instructions Jack Jensen left. Trust instructions? Dad stood abruptly. My father's will was straightforward. Everything was distributed clearly. There was no mention of any trust. The trust was separate from the will apparently, Marcus said. Ms. Chin says she's bound by attorney-client privilege, but the controlling member of JE Holdings can authorize release of information. Then get them on the phone. Patricia nearly shouted. Who is it? Marcus hesitated. Ms. Chin says the controlling member is in this room. Every head swiveled, looking at each other with suspicion and confusion. That's ridiculous, Uncle Tom said. None of us control any holding company. It's probably some legal technicality, Aunt Linda suggested. Maybe it's in Richard's name but he forgot about it? Dad shook his head slowly. I would remember controlling 82% of my own company. Wellington stood. Richard, I appreciate this is complicated but Meridian needs clarity. We'll table the acquisition pending resolution of the ownership question. Please contact me when you've sorted this out. Wait, Dad said desperately. James, we can work through this. I'm sorry, Wellington said, his tone final. Without clear ownership authorization we cannot proceed. Our lawyers won't allow it. The Meridian team departed, leaving a wake of stunned silence. Derek broke it first. Someone call that law firm back. Demand answers. This is insane. Dad's phone rang. He answered it without checking the caller ID. Yes. His expression shifted as he listened. What? No, yes, I understand. Thank you for letting me know. He set the phone down carefully like it might explode. That was First National Bank, he said quietly. The bridge loan we took out against the company's assets last year. The one we planned to pay off with the Meridian money, they're calling it due. Immediately. Patricia went white. What? They can't do that. We have 90 days notice in the loan agreement. Unless there's a change in ownership or control of the company, Dad said mechanically. It's in the fine print. The bank's legal department reviewed the state filings and determined that JE Holdings, as the controlling stakeholder, could technically demand restructuring. They're protecting their position. How much is the bridge loan? Vanessa asked weakly. $42 million, Dad said. Due in full within 30 days, or they can force the company into receivership. The room erupted in chaos. Everyone talking at once, voices rising in panic and accusation. I stood quietly, gathering my notepad and pen. Where are you going? Patricia snapped at me. We're in crisis here. I need to make a call, I said softly. Now. Derek stared at me incredulously. I know you don't understand business, but this affects you too. If the company goes under, your precious 2% is worthless. I nodded. I understand. I'll be back in a few minutes. I walked to the small conference room down the hall, the one Grandpa Jack used to call his thinking room. I pulled out my phone and dialed a familiar number. Morrison, Chin and Associates, Margaret Chin speaking. Hi Margaret, it's Emily Jensen. Emily. Her voice warmed immediately. I was wondering when you'd call. I assumed the Meridian meeting didn't go as your family planned. No, I said simply. They're panicking about JE Holdings now. As they should be, Margaret said. Your grandfather was very clear about the timing. He wanted you to observe how they'd behave when they thought they had total control. Have you seen enough? I thought about 12 years of being dismissed, ignored, treated like a charity case. I thought about Vanessa's mocking, Derek's contempt, Patricia's casual cruelty. I thought about Dad selling Grandpa Jack's legacy without a second thought, dividing the money before the ink was even dry. Yes, I said. I've seen enough. Then let's proceed, Margaret said briskly. I'm sending over the documentation now. You'll need to make the ownership public and exercise your controlling authority. Are you ready for that? I've been ready for 12 years, I said. When I returned to the boardroom, the chaos had intensified. Dad was on his phone with the bank, his voice strained. Derek and Vanessa were arguing about whose fault this was. Patricia was crying, actual tears, about the Manhattan penthouse she'd already mentally purchased. I sat down in my corner seat and opened my email on my phone. Margaret's documents had arrived. Emily. Dad slammed his phone down. This isn't the time for social media. We need to figure out who controls JE Holdings before. I do, I said quietly. The room froze. What? Vanessa asked. I control JE Holdings, I repeated, keeping my voice calm and steady. I am the sole member and managing director. I own 82% of Jensen Technologies. The silence was absolute. Then Derek laughed, a sharp, disbelieving bark. That's not funny, Em. I'm not joking, I said. I stood, walked to the head of the table and connected my phone to the boardroom display. The corporate documents filled the screen. Grandpa Jack spent 10 years quietly acquiring shares from retiring employees, small investors, anyone willing to sell. He consolidated 82% of the company and transferred it all to JE Holdings, Jack Emily Holdings, 2 weeks before he died. The trust was structured to vest completely when I turned 28. That was 3 months ago, Patricia whispered. Yes, I confirmed. I've been the controlling shareholder since August 15th. I've been waiting to see what you'd do. Dad stared at the documents like they were written in a foreign language. But why? Why would Dad do this? Because he knew, I said simply. He knew you'd sell the company the moment it became profitable enough. He knew you'd cash out and forget everything he built. He told me the week before he died that you were a good manager, Dad, but you didn't love the company. You loved the status it gave you. This is insane, Vanessa said, but her voice lacked conviction. You dropped out of Stanford. You work in a library. You wear cardigans from Target. I dropped out of Stanford because Grandpa Jack needed help, I said. He was sick and he was racing against time to teach me everything about running Jensen Technologies. The library job is at the Business and Technology Archives downtown, where I've spent 12 years studying every successful tech company transition in the last 50 years. And yes, I wear Target cardigans. Because unlike you, Vanessa, I don't need designer clothes to feel valuable. Derek had gone very pale. The bridge loan, you knew about it? I've received every company financial report for 12 years, I said. As the controlling shareholder, I'm entitled to them. I knew you took out $42 million to cover the expansion into South American markets. An expansion that's losing money, by the way. I knew Dad planned to use the Meridian money to cover it. Then stop this, Patricia pleaded. Authorize the sale. We can all still win here. No, I said simply. No. Dad's voice cracked. Emily, that bridge loan is due in 30 days. If we don't sell to Meridian, we can't pay it. The company will go into receivership. You'll lose everything too. I won't sell to Meridian, I said. Because their offer is $120 million below fair market value. They're acquiring a $460 million company for $340 million, banking on your desperation and financial ignorance. I pulled up another document on the screen, a detailed valuation report. I had Morrison Chin commission an independent valuation 6 months ago when I heard rumors you were courting buyers. Jensen Technologies is worth $460 million minimum, possibly $520 million with the right strategic partner. Meridian was lowballing you, and you were so eager to cash out that you didn't even question it. Uncle Tom was staring at the valuation report, his financial background letting him process the numbers quickly. She's right, he said quietly. Jesus Christ, Richard, she's right. Look at the comparable sales data. Meridian was stealing it. But the bridge loan, Vanessa started. Will be paid, I said. I'm authorizing a dividend distribution from the company's reserve capital. It'll be tight, but we can cover the $42 million and maintain operational funding. Dad sank into his chair. You've been planning this. I've been preparing, I corrected. Grandpa Jack didn't give me 82% of the company as a gift, Dad. He gave it to me as a responsibility. He taught me that ownership means stewardship, not exploitation. He wanted me to protect what he built. Protect it. Derek's voice rose. You're killing a $340 million deal. I'm preventing a $120 million loss, I corrected. And stopping you from destroying Grandpa Jack's legacy for yacht money. Patricia stood abruptly. Richard, do something. She can't just. She can, Dad said hollowly. She's the controlling shareholder. She can do whatever she wants. Margaret Chen's voice came through my phone, which I'd left connected. Emily, I have the next call queued up whenever you're ready. Thank you, Margaret. Put them through. The boardroom phone rang. Dad answered it automatically. Jensen Technologies, Richard Jensen. Mr. Jensen, this is Sarah Morrison from Techstone Ventures. We understand Jensen Technologies may be available for acquisition discussions. Dad's eyes shot to me. How did you? I've been in discussions with 3 potential buyers, I said calmly. Techstone, Waverly Industries and Prometheus Group. All 3 have expressed interest at valuations between $450 and $480 million. I told them we might be open to offers after the first quarter next year. You've been negotiating acquisitions? Vanessa asked in disbelief. I've been exploring options, I said. The difference is I actually researched fair market value first. Sarah Morrison's voice continued through the speaker. We're prepared to open discussions immediately if there's interest. We see significant potential in Jensen Technologies' patent portfolio and distribution network. Dad looked at me, and for the first time I saw something other than dismissal in his eyes. Fear maybe. Or respect. Ms. Morrison, I said, leaning toward the phone. This is Emily Jensen, controlling shareholder. We appreciate Techstone's interest, but we're not pursuing acquisition at this time. I'll have our corporate counsel reach out if that changes. Of course, Ms. Jensen. We look forward to hearing from you. The call ended. Derek broke the silence. You're not selling. Not now, I confirmed. Maybe not ever. I haven't decided yet. What are you going to do? Aunt Linda asked quietly. Run the company, I said simply. The way Grandpa Jack would have wanted. Sustainably. Responsibly. With actual long-term vision instead of quarterly profit chasing. I pulled up another document. This one a restructuring proposal I'd been working on for months. Effective immediately, I'm exercising my authority as controlling shareholder to implement the following changes. First, Derek, you're removed as head of business development. Your South American expansion has lost $18 million in 8 months. That division will be restructured under new leadership. Derek shot to his feet. You can't. I can and I am, I said calmly. Second, Vanessa, the marketing budget is being cut by 40%. You've been spending $200,000 per quarter on brand awareness campaigns that generate zero measurable return. We're refocusing on digital strategies with actual ROI metrics. Vanessa's face had gone crimson. Those campaigns are industry standard. They're industry waste, I corrected. Third, Patricia, your consulting fee of $15,000 per month is terminated immediately. You've attended 4 meetings in 2 years and contributed nothing beyond champagne preferences. Patricia looked like she might faint. I turned to Dad. Richard Jensen, you'll remain as CEO, but with revised compensation tied to company performance rather than personal draws. Your salary is being restructured to match industry standards for a company of this size. $280,000 base, with performance bonuses replacing the $650,000 you've been taking annually. Emily, Dad's voice was barely above a whisper. This is still my company. I built this. Grandpa Jack built this, I said firmly. You managed it. There's a difference. He started with a garage and a dream. You inherited a successful operation and maintained it. Competently, I'll grant you, but you were always planning your exit strategy. He loved the work. You loved the paycheck. Uncle Tom cleared his throat. And Linda and I? Your shares remain unchanged, I said. You're minority investors who've never taken more than the dividends you're entitled to. You're welcome to stay involved or step back, your choice. But the days of treating Jensen Technologies as a family piggy bank are over. I disconnected my phone from the display and gathered my notes. I'll be in Grandpa Jack's old office starting Monday, I said. I'm moving into the operational management role as executive chairperson. Dad will schedule a meeting to discuss the transition plan. Derek, Vanessa, HR will be in touch about your new roles. New roles? Derek sputtered. You're demoting us? I'm right-sizing you, I said. You can stay with the company in positions that match your actual contributions or you can leave. Your choice. This is insane, Patricia said, her voice shaking. Richard, are you going to let her do this? Dad was staring at the valuation report still displayed on the wall. $120 million below market value, he said quietly. I almost sold for $120 million less than it's worth. You were selling your inheritance, I said softly. Grandpa Jack knew you would. That's why he made sure I could stop you. Vanessa found her voice, though it cracked. So what, you're just going to run everything now? You who knows nothing about. I know the company did $89 million in revenue last year with a 23% profit margin, I interrupted. I know our strongest market is commercial electronics distribution in the Pacific Northwest, with emerging strength in medical device supply chains. I know our biggest operational inefficiency is the fulfillment center in Portland, which runs at 68% capacity because Derek negotiated a lease 3 times larger than we needed. Derek had no response. I know our 3 most valuable employees are Sarah Chin in logistics, Marcus Thomas in operations and Jennifer Wu in product development, none of whom have received raises in 18 months despite being headhunted regularly by competitors. That changes Monday. I turned to leave, then paused at the door. One more thing, I said. The penthouse in Manhattan, Patricia? The yacht, Derek? The Aspen property, Vanessa? Consider those dreams postponed. But if you work with me instead of against me, if you actually contribute to building this company instead of harvesting it, maybe we'll all do well enough that you can afford those things eventually. And if we refuse? Vanessa challenged. Then you can exercise your right as minority shareholders to sell your shares, I said. I'm sure you can find a buyer. Though I should mention that as controlling shareholder, I have right of first refusal. And I'll be valuing those shares based on the same careful analysis Grandpa Jack taught me. I left them sitting in stunned silence and walked down the hall to Grandpa Jack's office. My office now. The door had been locked since his death, preserved like a museum. I had the key, I'd always had the key. Inside, everything was exactly as he'd left it. The worn leather chair. The wall of books about manufacturing, distribution, business ethics. The photo of us together at my college graduation from the business program I'd completed online while caring for him. The graduation my family hadn't attended because it wasn't Stanford. On the desk, in a sealed envelope with my name on it, was a letter. I'd known it was here. Margaret had told me about it, but I'd waited until today to read it. Emily, if you're reading this, you've reached 28 and claimed your inheritance. I hope I taught you enough. I hope you're ready. Your father is a good man, but he mistakes money for success and status for achievement. Your stepmother and step-siblings see the company as a resource to extract rather than a legacy to build. I don't blame them. Our culture teaches that exit strategies are smart and cashing out is winning. But you understood even as a child that building something matters more than selling it. You asked better questions. You cared about the employees, not just the earnings reports. You saw the company as a living thing that needed tending, not a commodity to trade. The shares are yours not because you're my blood, though you are and I love you, but because you'll protect what I built better than anyone else. You'll face resistance. Your family will call you naive, accuse you of sentiment over sense, question your every decision. Stand firm. Trust your preparation. Remember that real leadership isn't about making everyone happy. It's about making the right choices even when they're hard. Build something that matters, Emily. Make me proud. Love always, Grandpa Jack. I folded the letter carefully and placed it in my desk drawer. Through the office window I could see the manufacturing floor where 347 employees worked. People with families, mortgages, dreams. People who'd been hours away from having their livelihoods sold to a corporate acquirer that would have eliminated 40% of positions within a year. My phone buzzed. A text from Margaret Chin. The documentation is filed. You're officially on record as controlling shareholder and executive chairperson. How does it feel? I looked around the office, felt the weight of responsibility settling onto my shoulders like a familiar coat. Feels like coming home, I typed back. Another text, this one from an unknown number. This is Sarah Chin from Logistics. Marcus told me what happened in the board meeting. Thank you. Some of us have been hoping someone would stand up to them for years. Then another, Jennifer Wu here. Heard you're taking over. Does this mean the Innovation Lab project might actually get funded? And another, Tom Jensen. Your grandfather would be proud. I'm sorry I didn't see what he saw sooner. If you need an ally on the board, you have one. I spent the rest of the afternoon in that office, reviewing 12 years of financial reports, operational data, employee files. By the time the sun set, I had a clear picture of everything that needed to change. At 7 p.m., Dad knocked on my door. He looked older than he had that morning, the confidence stripped away to reveal something more uncertain. Can I come in? I nodded, gesturing to the chair across from my desk. He sat slowly, looking around the office. I haven't been in here since he died. I couldn't face it. I know, I said. You really knew everything? For 12 years you've been watching, learning, preparing. Yes. He was quiet for a long moment. Why didn't you say something? Why didn't you tell me you were being groomed to take over? Because Grandpa Jack wanted me to earn it, not inherit it, I said. He wanted me to understand the company from the ground up, to see how it actually works rather than how it looks from the corner office. And he wanted me to see who you all really were when you thought I didn't matter. Dad flinched. I'm not trying to hurt you, I said more gently. But Grandpa Jack was right, you were always planning to sell. You saw the company as your retirement fund, not your life's work. And you see it differently? I see it as 347 people's livelihoods, I said. I see it as a legacy that matters. I see it as something worth building instead of cashing out. He nodded slowly. The Meridian offer. Was I really about to lose $120 million? At minimum, I confirmed. Possibly more. Wellington saw you were desperate because of the bridge loan. He structured the offer to exploit that desperation. And you have other buyers interested at higher prices? 3 of them, yes. But I'm not interested in selling to any of them right now. Maybe someday if the right opportunity comes along, one that protects employees and preserves the legacy. But not today. Dad stood, walked to the window overlooking the manufacturing floor. Your grandfather and I fought sometimes. He thought I was too focused on short-term gains. I thought he was too sentimental about business. You were both right, I said. Business needs both profit and purpose. He turned back to me. Can I stay? As CEO, I mean. Or do you want me gone? I want you to stay, I said honestly. But I want the version of you that actually cares about the company, not the version that's counting days until retirement. I want the Richard Jensen who helped Grandpa Jack build this place, not the one who was planning to sell it to the first buyer with a checkbook. That's fair, he said quietly. And probably more than I deserve after today. Tomorrow is Monday, I said. Fresh start. We have a bridge loan to restructure, a South American division to salvage or shut down, and about 300 employees who deserve to know the company isn't being sold out from under them. Think you can help me with that? For the first time all day he smiled. A real smile, not the corporate mask he usually wore. I think I'd like to try. After he left, I sat alone in the office as darkness fell outside. My phone continued to buzz with messages. Some supportive, some confused, some angry. Vanessa had sent a 3-paragraph text full of accusations and wounded pride. Derek had sent a terse, "This isn't over." Patricia had sent nothing at all. But there were also messages from employees I'd never met, thanking me for saving their jobs. From managers expressing relief that someone was finally addressing long-standing problems. From Margaret Chin confirming that all legal documentation was properly filed and my authority was unassailable. I thought about Grandpa Jack's letter, about his faith that I'd be ready for this moment. I thought about 12 years of being dismissed, underestimated, treated like a failure. I thought about wearing Target cardigans to board meetings while my family dripped in designer labels, knowing exactly why I did it, to stay invisible until the moment I chose to be seen. The moment had come. And I was ready. In the corner of the office, half hidden behind filing cabinets, I found one more thing Grandpa Jack had left me. a small plaque that had hung on his wall for 40 years. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. I hung it back on the wall where it belonged. Then I opened my laptop and got to work. There were 347 employees counting on me, a legacy to protect and a company to build. Tomorrow the real work began. But tonight, sitting in my grandfather's chair in the office that was now mine, wearing my Target cardigan and looking out over the manufacturing floor where it all started, I finally understood what he'd known all along. It was never about the money. It was about building something that mattered. And that was something my family had forgotten, but something I would never let them forget again. The lights of Jensen Technologies glowed in the darkness, and somewhere in that light I could feel Grandpa Jack smiling. "Well done, Emily. Now show them what you're really capable of." And I would. Starting Monday,